Welcome to InsectTech's Ethical Hacking course videos, module System Hacking. Let's see how we can crack Linux passwords using the tool John the Ripper. And in this particular demonstration, we are going to crack our own password, which is of Backtrack system. So I'm just launching my Backtrack system, and great, it has been launched. And if you use Backtrack operating system, the default password is tour, and I haven't changed my password for this Backtrack system, so my password is also tour. So to see all the options of the tool John the Ripper, we just need to type John in the terminal, and you can see all the options that are available for this tool John the Ripper, and you can go through all these options and you can understand what this tool does and how this tool does. And I'm just simply closing it. Now since we are cracking our own Linux password, we need to change the directories to our etc directory, and in etc directory we need to observe two files. One is password and another one is shadow. In this particular demonstration, rather than going through those directories, I'm just copying those files. One is etc password and etc shadow, and I'm just going to copy them to my root directory, and I'm just moving to root. And you can see we have password file and shadow file. Great. Now let's look at the contents of password file. Cat and now you can see the contents of the password file here. And let's try to understand the first line. Let's try to read this. If you see that the first colon, which is root, this is the username field, and if you see this X, this is the password field, and if you see this 0, this is the user ID field, and if you see the next 0, this is the group ID field, and this particular root is the user ID information field. And if you see this bin bash, usually this is the absolute path for a command shell. If you clearly observe the line, the password field has the value X, and this is because the password field is shadowed, and this is done by the implementation of etc shadow file, which we have copied into our root directory. And this particular shadow file holds the actual encrypted password. If you go there and if you go down and if you see cat shadow, you can see the user is root and it has the actual encrypted password. But this particular shadow file cannot be accessed by the regular users. If we have access to this particular shadow file, we don't need the password file. But let us assume that we don't have access to this particular shadow file and password file holds just an X. Then how do we get the encrypted password? We don't have access to this particular shadow file, and this particular password file is having only X but not the encrypted password. So how do we get access to this particular encrypted password? It is very simple. We'll have to unshadow the password field. then we will see the same hash in the password file that is stored in the shadow file. To unshadow the password field, we'll use the unshadow utility implemented in John the Ripper. So first I'm just going to open applications backtrack, privilege escalation, password attacks, offline attacks, and John the Ripper. And if you give a ls, you can see it has an implementation which is unshadow. So this is what I'm just going to use. I'm going to use this particular unshadow, and I have password shadow, and if you see the output, great, you can see the output here. If you see the first line, this particular password field is now having the encrypted password. So this is what we are going to use. Now we have the encrypted password. All we need to do is we need to crack the encrypted password. For that, I'm just going to load that particular hash into some file. Let us say insectx srinivas.txt. So I have now loaded that file into insectx srinivas.txt. You can see the contents of this particular insectx srinivas.txt. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to crack the encrypted password using a utility John. So John is now going to crack the password using some brute force attack. So I'm just pressing enter, and you can see one password hash has been loaded, and now this tool is actually cracking it. Great. The password is tour, you can see this, and the user name is root, and you can see the password here as well. You can see root is the username and tour is the password, and it will create one more file in the same directory, which is john.pot. You can even see your password in that particular directory, which is john.pot. You can see here this is the actual clear text password, and this is the hash which we have cracked. So this is how we can crack Linux passwords using John the Ripper tool.